The spilt blood of young black men has got to stop. This looks right out of like a movie, doesn't it? But it's not a movie. I hope it was worth it to kill somebody, you know, and exchange your life for theirs. Because that's essentially what you're doing. You took yourself out of the game.
With nothing in your hands, we are not going away.
So you're a f***ing badass, right? You got your Draco, you got your brah, brah, brah. Well, guess what? So do they. And they've got bulletproof vests, and there's a lot more of them, and they're a lot better trained.
We have a warrant for your arrest. Come up their front door.
So that's not Amazon calling. Just so you know. That's the end of your freedom calling. I would be shocked if they didn't go for the death penalty in this.
Let me be clear. The feud stops here.
Oh, wow. She ended the feud just like that. You got angle after angle after angle. These guys are just dumb.
And you can see the shooters are getting in position for their planned out.
Tell me that doesn't look like premeditated murder. I mean, they're so dumb. They're all charged with premeditated first-degree murder.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another action-packed, fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own. How does it feel to have your very own personal board-certified criminal defense lawyer here at your service? And we are joined today by our content genius, as always, Michael Rivers. Michael, tell the people who you are.
I'm Michael. I'm the
He's
co-creator.
He's so shy. This guy is behind the mic, behind the camera, behind every idea, and in front of the camera. How do you do that, Michael? How do you get? And he's got a monitor here. He edits. He picks out the content. He's everything. How do you do it?
How do I do it? It's
We're
a lot
at 1.2 million subscribers. I mean,
growing fast. And shout out to Tony and Nick for helping us get the website up and the merch. And you want to pitch the merch real?
yeah. And so just so you know, but for Michael, we wouldn't have this channel. You think I would do this on my own? No. We started out with Y&W Melly, and now we're here like almost 4 years later. So, and keep in mind, Michael just asked me to pitch our merch. So we have a new website, clrbrucerivers.com. Go there if you want a hat. You want to spread the word about stop self-snitching, do that. I suggest you do that. You want to get that for somebody like your grandma who's in your basement? She needs a stop self-snitching hat. Speaking of grandmas in your basement, guess who this is sponsored by? It's sponsored by eforms.com. eforms.com, if you have a need for any legal form, you know, go to eforms.com. Honestly, give them some love because they are such dire and stalwart supporters of our channel. They have been for a long time. And you know what? It's really amazing because eforms.com is a very effective way to stay out of court. Or if you have to go to court, you'll win. Why will you win? Because documents don't lie. And you can avoid the high cost of a lawyer to do the same documents. Because where would I go? I would go to eforms.com. So if you have a grandma in your basement and she's trying to sell her wagon or her electric wheelchair, or you just want to sell her electric wheelchair because you want to be cruel to your grandma. No, I'm just kidding. But any kind of legal form, go to eforms.com. Okay. Today we're reacting to the news, the big news that the killers, and I mean killers, in the most... We're going to show you a video here that's just absolutely amazing. FOOLIO'S killers. You know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. And I can't tell you enough. I knew this was going to happen. I mean, they shot him once in the foot, right? And so this was nothing short of 100% cold-blooded murder. Murder. Can we say murder? I don't know if we can.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get a flag?
No, TikTok was the unalive thing, and but
All right.
I don't know what the rules are anymore. I know YouTube just recently.
So I'm going to read you from NBC News. Florida authorities this week announced the arrest of 4 suspects, and they transported him. Let's see, because this homicide was out of Jacksonville, Now, it was a 6-block gang member, and they have a feud with the ATKs. What is ATK?
Some people say it stands for Ace's Top Killers. There's other.
All right. So ATK and 1200. So Chance is one of the guys, was an ATK member. Rashad Murphy, who's an ATK member, and is a 1200 member, and Davion Murphy. So Rashad and Davion Murphy are also associated with 1200. So this was caught at a hotel on 4K video. So his real name is Charles Jones, and he was shot on June 23rd at a hotel in Tampa, Florida. They're all charged with premeditated first-degree murder. Here's the thing. Premeditation and intent can be inferred by your conduct, right? And in this case, these people tracked Foolio where he was going, and he'd get to a certain place, then another car would show up. So we're going to watch a video here in a little bit. Number one, we're going to show the video from the hotel, and then we're going to watch the press conference with the sheriff. They've got 4 suspects in custody. There's 1 at large, and the Attorney General, or State Attorney Susan Lopez, said at a news conference on Monday, all 5 of these defendants are facing life in the Florida state prison system, even the ones who didn't pull the trigger. In Florida, if you participate in the planning of a murder, you can be held accountable for the person's death, and that is what we intend to do here. What she's talking about here is, I think, and we haven't seen the charging document yet, but this Alicia Andrews, who is 21 years old, lured Foolio to a location, and so she was part of the conspiracy to kill Foolio. So it's called liability for crimes of another. So if you aid, advise, counsel, conspire, or otherwise procure somebody to commit a crime, you're just as guilty of that crime as though you pulled the trigger. So she doesn't have to pull the trigger in order to be found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. The intent of the other people is inferred upon her if she aided and abetted in any way. I mean, they're so dumb, honestly, because this is caught at a hotel. You know, everybody's got to know that they've got 4K video these days. In other words, it's all detailed. It's not grainy footage like it was in the old days. So let's take a look at this.
This is at the hotel, and you can see the shooters are getting in position for their planned out
That doesn't look like premeditated murder.
Murder.
The problem that you have with any kind of public place these days, especially like a hotel or a bar, there's a mountain of evidence. There's cameras everywhere.
And they are
And so they
shooting.
can track their movements going here, 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 and here. And then this guy's obviously wearing something that's fairly
They are
identifiable.
shooting at Charles now, and you can see that he's the passenger in that car that's moving and trying to flee. And again, they're still shooting at him. He's the right front passenger in that vehicle.
That is so clear. You got angle after angle after angle. These guys are just dumb.
It's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do. The investigation would later reveal that the 3 armed shooters were Sean Gaithright, Rashard Murphy, and Davion Murphy.
The 3 guys, but I got some other video to show you.
Detectives used footage from the scene, license plate readers, and phone logs to identify 2 vehicles and link them back to the suspects.
Gee, wow. Can you imagine such a thing? How stupid do you have to be? But then again, if you're out doing this shit, you're probably not a rocket scientist because you got nothing else going on except for you being a gang member. And you know what? And I'm not going to snitch. I'm not going to snitch. We'll see you later. here's the thing. If this is done for the benefit of a gang, remember we talked about this in the YNW Melly case? If it's done for the benefit of the gang, they could be looking at the death penalty. Without, and I think because you're going to have a gang expert, you're going to talk about, you know, the different gangs and the rivalries, and there's so much history between Foolio and these other gangs.
Furthermore, it was found that the shooters are members of or affiliated with rival gangs of Jones that go by ATK and 1200. Jones was part of the 6 Block gang. Detectives believe that the ATK and the 1200 worked together to target Jones as part of an ongoing feud in Jackson.
For what? Turn up for what? I mean, come on. You know, I've been trying to speak on this issue for a long time, and I haven't spoken out loud about it recently, except for when we got news that Foolio was killed. There are so many homicides between these groups, and it's just never ending. The people in their circle, mothers, and I guarantee you the mothers, there might be some mothers that support this, I suppose, but by and large, mothers and aunties and grandmas and, you know, the women who are holding everything together by a fucking thread, you know, hopefully they keep these younger guys, because the older guys, who are they? You know, they are what they are. But the young kids who are getting sucked into this have got to be pulled up with their fucking ears and and taken out of the equation. Take them out. You know, put them in a better school. Put them in a better town. You know, and I know it's easier said than done. And so what you're hearing from me is just frustration, because I don't want to see any young black man or any young man, regardless of color, killed. But this is happening predominantly in gang activity. Now let's take a look at the sheriff's position on ATK.
So Young and Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention. Did you hear one of the things that they got? They got license plate readers, cell phone information. I mean, we have a digital footprint everywhere we go, you know, and these guys just got fucking popped because they're stupid.
We have people that are always watching them. I won't speak to the chief's investigation. That's up to TPD. We don't have an investigation on him right now, but he can't move around in Jacksonville without us knowing about it.
Can't move around in Jacksonville without them knowing about it. Guess what, Ace? I mean, you know, we did a reaction to Who I Smoke, and it was before I knew anything about this stuff. Michael was in the know, and I think Michael knew what he was doing when he had me react to it, because I was like, oh God, these guys are on a golf course. They're wearing polos. They got, you know, visors. They look like they're having a good time on a golf course. I could party with these guys. No, I couldn't. You know, I mean, Young and Ace, I mean, this gang stuff, they're into it. They're not going back. There's no reforming right now. It's either kill or be killed. It's either go to prison or be dead, or, you know, or try to skirt on one more day of freedom.
And that's for the betterment of our community.
The ongoing fight between these two groups spilled over into Tampa last month. Let me be clear. The feud stops here.
Oh, wow. She ended the feud just like that.
These defendants are facing life in the Florida State Prison, even the ones who didn't pull the trigger.
Let me just tell you something. They don't give a shit about that. Honestly, you know what they give a shit about? They don't think they're going to live to be 30. So when you were dealing with people who are in constant gang warfare, threatening them with life in prison, oh, I get 3 hots in a cot for the rest of my life. I don't think they really want to go to prison for the rest of their life, but they don't believe they're going to live that long.
In Florida, if you participate in the planning of a murder, you can be held accountable for the person's death. And that is what we intend to do here.
Okay, I'm going to show you a clip here and show you what she's talking about.
Me drinking, cuz. I don't even drink, cuz.
So the allegation is that this Alicia Andrews is the one who sort of set him up and was telling people where he was going to be and when.
Can you talk about conspiracy?
So conspiracy is an agreement to commit a crime and an act in furtherance of that crime. That's all conspiracy is. And guess what you're on the hook for when you're charged with a conspiracy? The underlying fucking crime. But this is also more of an aiding and abetting type of thing. So if she sets him up and tells other people where there's going to be a record of that with phone, with text messaging and whatever.
You're supposed to have a chaser.
Appreciate everybody popping out for my birthday, you know what I'm saying?
Happy birthday!
Everybody got their shot, put their shot in the air, man. Okay, David. Everybody take that shit on 3, man. 1, 2, 3.
So the tagline here is 21-year-old Foolio murder suspect Alicia Andrews was allegedly celebrating Jacksonville's rapper's birthday with him in Tampa. Told suspects Isaiah Chance and Sean Galthright his location. So she's on the hook for this murder, just as though she pulled the trigger herself.
Brother, when you don't pop out for my birthday, oh God, yeah.
All right, and then
Hang on, I'm gonna go back to that. So we're gonna go back to the press conference. I just wanted to show you what they're talking about.
There were 3 people who pulled the trigger. You saw it on the video. 5 people, though, are charged with murder. The level of planning and coordination between these 5 defendants was truly alarming. It is clear that they all had one purpose in coming to Tampa, and that was to kill. And let's not lose sight of the fact that there are innocent victims in every homicide case, the loved ones who are left behind. His fans knew him as Julio Foolio, but to his mom, he's Charles. We're fighting to make sure that she gets justice. I was able to speak with her this morning before she got to Tampa, and she's in Tampa with us today. I wanted to let her know that my office takes gun violence very seriously, and I let her know that these 5 defendants will be held accountable for their calculated actions.
I would be shocked if they didn't go for the death penalty in this.
Custody, 3 of them in Jacksonville, and will be moved here to appear in court. My office will file a motion for pretrial detention to ensure that these dangerous individuals are held behind bars as they await trial, where they belong. I want to commend the Tampa Police Department for this investigation, as well as our collaboration with JSO.
You know, if you're gonna plan something like this, take your fucking license plate off and go 2 blocks and then put it back on. But guess what? There are cameras in the next block and the next block and the next block, and so they probably would catch you putting your license plate back on, and then they would really read your license plate again. It's just stupid. And over what? Over gang warfare beefs. Over beefs.
So, the TPD investigation developed a mountain of evidence, and we will work hard to ensure that justice is served for all victims in this case. Thank you very much.
So that's the press conference. So now we're going to show you the moment that these people get arrested. I mean, these people are not hard to find. You know, they did it by cell phone and license plate readers and probably other things, probably social media. As you can see that there was a video that was posted by Foolio. How do you think they knew that she was part of this?
Office, we are here for a driveway. We have a warrant for your arrest. Come to the front door.
So that's not Amazon calling. Just so you know. That's the end of your freedom calling.
With nothing in your hand, we are not going away.
So you're a fucking badass, right? You got your Draco, you got your brat, brat, brat. Well, guess what? So do they. And they've got bulletproof vests, and there's a lot more of them, and they're a lot better trained.
Hands up! Come on out, with your hands up.
You're good. Come on out. Hands up.
Come
Put
on
your
out,
hands
with your
up.
hands up. Bring them to the officer.
Can't tell.
Yeah, we have a nice party van for you to go in, and we're going to provide you with some bologna sandwiches here shortly.
Yeah. Yep. Put your hands up.
Look at that fucking thing. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't look... I'm not a gun expert.
Hands up.
Hands in the air. Hands in the air.
It looks like something you'd see on the game Doom. God, no. Am I like dating myself?
Dating yourself, yeah.
Oh my God. I used to play Doom in law school, and I got a bad grade because of it.
All right, slowly walk toward me. Let's go. Right here, right here. Walk right here. Let's go. Yeah.
Walk this way, listen to the instructions.
Oh, I'll roll out the back door. Maybe they won't see me out the back. You think they got the back door covered? You think they have the windows covered? You think they got everything covered? See you later, buddy.
Yep.
Hey, get your hands up and walk out towards me. Hey, over here.
Come this way.
Over here. You're going to get hit with the less lethal. Get your hands.
Oh, it's probably a beanbag gun. That's what that thing is. Less than lethal. I bet shit that what it is.
Hands up and walk toward me. Hands up and walk toward me. Hands up and walk toward me. Keep coming. Keep coming. Coming.
Reach in your pocket for something.
Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Keep coming. Stop. Stop. Turn around. Keep your hands up. Turn around. Hands up. Keep your hands up. Hands up. Don't reach for your waist. Do not reach for your waist. Look at me. Back up to me.
I think he's outnumbered and outgunned and outsmarted by the government.
Back up. Back up. Back up. Back up. All right, go to your knees.
I hope it was fucking worth it to kill somebody, and exchange your life for theirs. Because that's essentially what you're doing. You took yourself out of the game.
Put your hands behind your back. Stay there. Stay there. Don't move.
The only thing worse than getting arrested like this is getting arrested like this in the rain.
Isaiah? Isaiah? Stand up. Isaiah Chance, right?
Isaiah Chance Jr. This looks right out of like a movie, doesn't it? But it's not a movie. And these rap songs, these drill music, where they talk about smoking on your ops and they go bibby and whatever the fuck they're talking about, when they talk about killing people. I mean it's so murderous. It's so ridiculous. I hope to God somebody's watching this and takes note that the senseless death of young black men in cities around the country related to gang violence is not worth it. It's not worth it. I mean, who wants to see their child being put in the back of a cruiser? Who wants to see that? Nobody wants to see that. For a murder. I mean, think about it. The families around these guys who are responsible for this, now keep in mind they are innocent until proven guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt, in court, no, not here. But I mean, imagine the horrific pain that their families are going through.
And on the other side, to see their family members leaking out in the middle of the street.
The spilt blood of young black men has got to stop. Foolio, like she said, he's got a mother, he's got sisters, he's got family, but so do these guys. It's just senseless all the way around.
Keep walking. Keep walking. Now turn around. Put your hands behind your back.
For this to be as they have a thing called violent VCAT, Violent Crimes Arrest Team, and they're pretty professional. They're not manhandling. They're not taking it. You ever see the videos on Chris Hansen where the guy he walks out the door and they tackle the shit out of him, you know, for trying to get with a 13-year-old girl or boy, whatever he tries to do. They could do that here, but they're treating them professionally. We'll put
Is there anybody else inside?
So that's your mole right there. That's your rat. That's your snitch. Not snitch to the cops. Snitch to the killers. You know, that's just as bad, honestly. Video in these arrests is just incredible. I mean, it is cinematic. If and when they link this up to gang activity, it is the death penalty for all 5 people. So 4 of them are in custody. 1 is still at large. Notice he's not talking to her at all. And why not? Their job is just to apprehend. So they apprehend her, they put her in a cell, then all of a sudden an agent will come and start talking to her. Say, would you, and they'll talk to her first. Because they'll say, would you like to talk to us? You have the right to have a lawyer present, Mirandize her, right? So they'll Mirandize her, and then they'll say, would you like to talk to us? If she says, yeah, I'll talk to you, she can end questioning at any time. But if she says, I want my lawyer, they have to cease all questioning. For what? For nothing. For literally nothing. To avenge somebody else's death. And when does it end? So I call on all the mothers, grandmothers, aunties, sisters. Try to use whatever influence you can because you're the most powerful force in their lives. You absolutely are. So this has been our reaction to the apprehension of the 4 murder suspects in the Foolio murder case, Charles Jones. You know, and it seems weird that I'm now going to try to sell some stuff, but we're going to make sure you go to the CLR, BruceRivers.com, you know, for our merch. But it's just sad. It's just sad all the way around. So that's 5, 6, you know, and remember I told you before there's like 50 unsolved homicides in Jacksonville? Well, they're going to crack down, and Ace can't move. And we'll see you next time here at Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. Sign up for Patreon. Follow us on Facebook because we've got some old and new content out there. And go to CLRBruceRivers.com for merch. See you next time. Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to a fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers with a Melly update. As you guys know, our content genius is behind the camera, behind the microphone, behind everything I do. I owe all my success to him, Michael Rivers. So today we're reacting to Monday, what happened yesterday in the trial of State of Florida versus Jamel Demons, or Demons. Does it say demons or demons? I'm not sure which. Anyway, YNW Melly. Now, we started up a new week of trial, and guess what? Today does not disappoint. But before we get to that, all right, so I was on my yacht over the weekend, and my grandma, you know, God bless her, she's just the nicest lady. She got sober, and as a thank you for her getting off of methamphetamine and getting out of my basement, thank God, we decided to get her a jet ski. And so, you know, she can't really go to the dealership. So we had them e-sign us a purchase agreement, which we did. And we downloaded the app. You got 3 free signatures. And now Grandma goes like crazy on the jet ski. So we were able to complete that transaction quickly. And we also did the same thing with the bank. We got a loan at the bank. We e-signed. Everything was cool. If you have an agreement that you need signed quickly, I use it all the time for retainer agreements, and sometimes people can't come into the office for whatever reason. You e-sign. If it's not e-sign, nobody signs. All right, so that's our e-sign ad for today. So Travion Glass, and that's kind of a cool name, Travion Glass. He testified in Melly's trial today. Now, if you remember, they had rented a studio for 12 hours, and Williams and Thomas were there. That's Sack Chaser and Juvie. They were there, and so was Melly, and so was Bortland. What makes Glass's testimony important is the fact that he testified today that he saw that Melly changed his clothes. We'll talk more about that, what that forensically means. But let's
You're wearing in the photograph.
Shirt. White shirt.
Okay. So after the hospital, you went to Frito's house.
To the best of my knowledge.
Okay. And what were you doing at the house?
This is another reason why he's a critical witness, because this is so a witness who's actually spent some time with them in the moments before the killing.
Still grieving.
Okay.
And he's talking about he's grieving the loss of his two friends because he had been recording with one of them prior to this.
Who took you to the hospital?
The cameraman.
Okay, do you recall his name?
Drew.
Right. And do you recall who took you from the hospital to Frito's house?
Same person.
All right. And before you left for the hospital, or actually, who went to the hospital with you and Drew?
Just Drew.
Okay. Who was at the house, Melly's house?
And so he's like 3 steps removed because he goes to the hospital, but he goes with the cameraman. He's not part of the crew.
Before you left for the hospital.
Same people that was there when we got there.
Okay, and same people being the 4 people that entered the Mitsubishi?
Yes.
Okay. So you're at Frito's house. You mentioned, and I forgot exactly where you were in the house. Did you say where you were?
Drew's room.
No. Not Melly's house. Frito's house. Where were you in Frito's house?
Outside.
Okay. And who was at Frito's house when you first got there?
Everybody that wasn't at the house.
Okay. And it's because I don't know who.
Okay, what an answer that is. Who was at Frito's house after everybody that wasn't at the house?
Everybody was or is. Can you please specify?
In other words, what are the names of the people that were at the house?
Kobe, Melly.
Kobe, Melly.
The only people I can remember.
Okay. Was that the first time you saw Melly after you guys left the studio?
Yeah.
Was Melly wearing the same clothes or different clothes than when you saw him at the studio?
It was a new day. Nah, it wasn't.
Nah, he wasn't.
All right, so he's wearing something at the studio. The murder happens. Then after the murder, they're at Frito's house, and he's wearing something different. Here's why that's important. If you remember where Melly was sitting, he's in the rear driver's side seat, okay? So you've got, this is very close quarters. You're in an enclosed vehicle. You've got one person sitting right next to you, and you got another person sitting in the passenger seat in the front. When you fire a round in an enclosed car and it hits somebody, it's going to spray blood on you. Same with the front seat. It's still going to get blowback. You're going to get some material on you for sure. And so he knows that, and that's likely why he changed his clothes, according to the prosecution. That's the prosecution's theory for sure. And it's a pretty good one.
You guys
Wasn't wearing the same clothes.
Okay. Do you recall what he was wearing?
Just had on some shorts.
And how long did you stay at Frito Bain's house?
I don't know.
All right. Minutes, hours, days?
He's a reluctant witness, but he brings out a very, very important fact. And that goes to consciousness of guilt.
Could be minutes, could be hours.
Okay. So not days?
Not even a day.
Okay. And so when you got to Frito's house, was it light or dark outside?
Light.
And you previously said...
Now it's light outside, but remember that the murder supposedly happened around 4:30 or thereabouts in the morning. So it would be dark and then just about to start getting light in about an hour and a half or so.
Yourself and Melly and someone else was at Frito's house. Was Frito there as well?
I think I did see him. I don't remember.
Okay. What happens while you're there? Like you're there, you're outside, what happens?
Grieving.
Okay. And you're grieving, are you grieving alone?
Yes.
Are you at the house, at any point in time, do more people come to the house or do people leave the house?
If they did come, I don't know. I was in the back.
Okay.
I was back there grieving.
At any point in time, did Melly leave Frito's house?
It came to the point when I was there by myself.
All right. So you were there by
So that means Melly must have left.
yourself. So the people that you previously said were there were no longer there, correct?
Right.
And so do you know where they went during that time?
I don't.
All right. And we're still talking about October 26th of 2018, correct?
Yes.
And this would be shortly after the hospital?
Yes.
All right. At some point, does Melly come back to Frito's house?
Around this time, I'm still grieving and getting a little, I don't know, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess Melly comes back.
Yeah, I guess they did come back.
Right.
I don't know, I'm not sure.
Okay. And at some point, does Melly leave again, a second time?
I don't remember anything farther after that.
All right.
See, he's a real reluctant witness. He remembers he changed clothes. That's a very salient fact. One of the reasons he remembers that is because there's a photograph of him.
Grieving. That was the last thing I remember was me grieving. And I ended up in Gifford.
All right. So before you end up in Griffin, if I were to show you a statement, would that refresh your recollection as to Melly leaving and coming back a second time?
So if somebody's having trouble in witness stand remembering, you can ask them, would it refresh your recollection if I show you your notes, show you your statement, whatever the item happens to be? If they say no, it doesn't matter if I look at that, you're stuck with their answer. But if they say, well, maybe, then you give them the document, they read it. They don't read the document out loud, but they read it to themselves, and then you can get that statement in.
I suppose so.
Under permission to show him his statement again?
Yes, Counsel.
And one of the things that, they always have to ask permission from the judge. So if you're going to approach the bench because you want to say something outside the presence of the jury, Your Honor, may I approach the bench? Or if you want to show the witness something, Your Honor, may I approach the witness to show him the transcript?
Mr. Glass, I'm going to give you page 5 and page 6. If you can take a look, you can start in the middle and review those pages and look up when you're done.
So this would have been probably 5 years ago that he gave this statement.
Are you done? Is that a yes?
Yes.
Did that refresh your recollection?
Somewhat.
Okay, so tell us what you somewhat remember.
I just did.
I just did.
If you recall,
It's so fucking frustrating when you're dealing with a witness has the information, but they don't want to give it to you. And it can come to a point where the judge will let you lead them. Now let's talk about that for just a second. Cross-examination is not what we're seeing here. This is direct examination. This is a witness that you call and you have to ask open-ended questions. But if they're completely reluctant or not cooperative and aren't really answering your questions, you can ask the judge to have them declared a hostile witness. In other words, then you can cross-examine them.
You said you weren't sure. You went to Gifford, and then I asked you if your statement would refresh your recollection. Does your statement refresh your recollection as to whether Melly left again?
I'm not sure if they left. I was grieving.
Okay.
I'm not sure what nobody did. I was grieving.
All right.
That's not good for her, you know. And the thing is, she should be more streamlined, because when you get an answer like that, you know, you should know what this witness is going to say before they get up there. And you get an answer like that, it makes it look like you're not prepared because you don't know what's going on.
Well, nothing mentioned. Let's see. I pointed out to you someone was the person that was wearing the jacket that you identified as Melly was carrying something across his side or his back on the video. Do you recall seeing that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall what that's referred to?
A satchel.
Okay. Can it also be commonly referred to?
Objection.
Sustained.
Objection, leading. So that's what I was telling you about. You can't lead a witness on direct examination. The question was, can it also be commonly referred to? And you have to give that or lodge that objection immediately, because otherwise she's going to get that word out there, and that lets the witness know what you're trying to ask. So the defense lawyer hopped on it right away. Very good. And the judge sustained the objection. So basically, the reason that was leading is because the answer was going to be in the question, and that's a leading question.
Are you familiar with the term mandatory?
Objection.
Watch come sidebar.
See, now she's going to educate her witness.
Did you see that satchel again after you left the studio? Do you know what was in that satchel?
I don't.
Okay. Do you recall seeing anyone else with a satchel that night at the studio?
It was 5 years ago. I don't recall.
Okay.
That is the danger of taking so long for a case to come to trial. And I think that's one of the reasons why they do depositions, honestly, because you can take somebody's deposition and you have their testimony early on, and then if they have trouble with it, you can read it back or even read it into the record in some cases.
Is there anything that can refresh your recollection as to whether or not anybody else was wearing a satchel?
I suppose so.
If I were to show you the video again, would that refresh your recollection?
I suppose so.
No. Publishing State 7.
Now, here's the thing. So, he was with them at the studio, right? The morning comes and goes, and then he sees Melly in new clothes. So, there's two things that could happen. The prosecution will say that's nefarious because he got blood all over his other clothes and he had to change them. And the defense is going to say, well, it's the dawning of a new day. Don't you change your underpants, Madam Prosecutor? Of course they're going to say that. So they're going through that video again. You know, they're going through the video to show who is sitting where. So you got two things that are coming out of this witness. One, that Melly changed his clothes, which could be evidence of a consciousness of guilt. And then the other thing is, and other witnesses have testified, but they're corroborating, and you build it all together. That's really what they're doing with this. We don't know yet exactly the exact importance of the satchel, right? Could it have contained firearms? I suppose it could have. Williams had the satchel on him getting into the car. Then later, you see Melly with that same satchel on. And that's what those objections were all about.
I'm going to start Publishing State 7 at 2:19:01. And I'm going to pause at 2:19:13. Does the video refresh your recollection as to anyone else that was carrying a satchel?
Yes.
Who, if anyone, was carrying a satchel?
I see Chris for one.
And that's Christopher Thomas.
Yes.
Did you ever have any business relationship with a person I refer to as Track?
No,
Okay. Do you know who Track is?
not really.
Not really, or
I don't know who he is at all.
do you know of him?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see Track on October 26th, 20?
So now let's fast forward a little bit. You know, when he's sitting behind that monitor, isn't that just irritating? It's just because you can't see the facial. You know, it's like when they had masks on during COVID. You couldn't see somebody's facial expression. You hide behind a monitor, you can't see your facial expression, and it's difficult to read.
You smoke a lot of marijuana, right?
Now this is a defense question. Now, you smoke a lot of marijuana, don't you? How they're allowed to ask this is beyond me.
Possibly.
Well, you smoke it anytime you get a chance, I think is how you
Well, I mean, who wouldn't?
phrase.
It's your answer. Yeah.
That was your answer.
I smoke when I smoke.
You smoke when you smoke?
Yeah.
And when's that?
When I smoke.
And when was that?
When I smoke.
How many times a day?
Objection to ask and answer.
No, it's not answered because he didn't fucking answer the question. Here's the thing. You can ask a question, and then if you try to reemphasize it and ask the same question, if they answered it the first time, you can't ask it again. It's called asked and answered. You can only ask it, but if you ask the question and they don't answer it or give you some bullshit answer that's non-responsive, then you can go ahead and ask the question. And you can also ask the court to admonish the witness to answer the question.
Overruled.
Of course you're going to overrule it.
Twice, 3 times, maybe.
Okay.
A lady, 3 times a lady. So he smokes weed 2 to 3 times a day. Now, here's the thing. I don't smoke weed, but I smell it all the time, all over the place. Do people just get high all fucking day? I think they do. They must, because you smell it everywhere. But, I mean, imagine if we did that with alcohol. Like, I'm just going to take a lunch. I mean, they used to do that with alcohol. You know, lawyers used to have a 2-martini lunch, if you remember back in the day, it was before my time. But imagine with booze. Like, if you were just going to have some people have a blunt in their hand all the time. I can't imagine having a beer in my hand all the time.
And on the night before you got to the studio.
So the idea is here, you're smoking weed. You smoke weed a lot. You smoke weed at least 2 to 3 times a day. You can't be trusted to remember a goddamn thing because you were high. But some people who smoke a lot of weed, that's just who they are, and develop a tolerance for it.
On the day in question, you had smoked at least 2 joints, right?
I sure guess.
That's what you said, right?
I don't recall.
Okay. And when
I don't recall. Does that seem genuine to you?
you got to the studio, you were smoking, correct?
Possibly.
Were you or weren't you?
It was 5 years ago.
You forget?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you were drinking
See, he doesn't want to help anybody. He doesn't want to help the defense. He doesn't want to help anybody.
Hennessy, I believe? Or do you not recall that either?
It's possible.
Possible. But you don't recall?
I don't.
Okay. So you don't recall much from that night, do you?
Oh, I don't recall. Well, then how the fuck can you say that he changed his clothes? How do you remember that so clearly, but everything else you can't recall?
Right? Fair?
Right.
Okay. And when you got in the red vehicle and left, you went to sleep in the vehicle when you left the studio. Right?
Yeah, I was just about to have the munchies. You get tired just before you get the munchies.
Yeah.
And you didn't wake up until you got to the guard gate.
I woke up when we came to a stop.
You did not wake up until you got to the guard gate. Am I right or wrong?
I woke up when we came to a stop.
Okay,
Which was at the guard gate, yes.
Okay.
Without the gang involvement in this case, they don't have a death penalty case.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I am here with my 24-karat gold sharks to give you their latest update on the Melly trial. And guess what? And right behind the camera, inspiring me every day, is our content genius, Mr. Michael Rivers. But before we get to that, let's just say life hasn't been easy for me since my basement is basically a hub for a couple of methed out grandparents. And, while the restraining order isn't really working, I've decided to just try to commit them civilly. So I've taken over with their power of attorney, and I've got it drafted by a lawyer, and guess what we used to do that? I'll just take one guess. We use eSign.com. eSign.com is a very effective way to remotely take over somebody's life with an e-signature. What you do is you download the app, you get 3 free signatures a month, and actually, it's a very effective way to remotely do business. And well, here's the thing about remotely doing business. You can get things done very quickly. So before your grandparents get the next shipment from Arizona, you can have them committed and take care of your stuff remotely. By doing it remotely, you get things done fast. I use it all the time in my practice when I have somebody say they live out of state or whatever. They can't come into the office for whatever reason. It's an easy way to get the retainer agreement signed, but you can use it for anything. You can use it for a power of attorney. You can use it for a business agreement. Just about any document that you need signed, do it remotely with eSign.com, because if it's not eSign, no one signs. So let's talk about going on at the Melly trial. So remember last week, the state filed a motion to have the gang expert testify with his mask on. There's really no reason to do that in this case. I mean, if he's worried about it getting published, what they did today, first of all, the judge denied their motion, and so he does have to testify without a mask. And one of the things that the defense came up with, he's on Cash App. You just look him up on Cash App, and all of a sudden he's there. His picture is very public. His name is public. So he goes by Danny Polo, and he is super public. And what do you do to ameliorate his concerns about his family, that he's so worried that they're going to get killed? Which nobody wants that to happen. Nobody wants to make light of that. Just don't show his face on camera. I mean, that's a pretty easy fix. But when he's testifying, you have the right to confrontation. And I think I'm not going to go into that whole thing about it, but the Sixth Amendment right to confrontation means you have the right to face your accuser, and it's face-to-face. It's not absolute, but in this case, the judge ruled that their defendant's Sixth Amendment right outweighs the anonymity request by the state. Why is there even a gang expert involved in this case? Why is that important? Well, it is important because the gang expert is part of the reason they're asking for the death penalty. The death penalty in this case is imposed because the allegation is that it's a crime committed for the benefit of a gang. He testified, meaning Danny Polo, testified that YNW is not necessarily a gang. There are gang members in it. Oops, what was that? Danny Polo, the gang expert, testified that YNW is not necessarily a gang. And he also testified that this is not but it does have gang members in it. Within various larger gangs, there are sets, right? So related to Melly is the G-Shine set. And in fact, if you look at this picture, it shows him with the back, I shine, you shine, we all shine, blah, blah, blah. That's why this testimony is so important. So there's a lot of conflicting information to show that Melly wasn't really even a member of the gang at the time. So let's watch a little bit of the testimony from the expert, and then we'll kind of comment.
Okay, in this particular image.
So one of the things that is absolutely notorious in every gang case are photos. Photos where they're holding up gang signs, because it signifies membership.
To identify the co-defendant, Cortland Henry.
Yes.
So you can see in this photo, you got Melly. You can tell where Melly is, and then Henry's on the far left.
And where is he looking in that one photo?
Can I stand there, Grandma?
Yes.
You can stand up.
Let me see if I can get something to point with, Your Honor. So.
It's on touchscreen, right? This time.
That's not, so. Okay, so it's not working on that screen on that, so just if you keep your back.
That's
Okay, do you see the individual identified as Jamel Simmons in this picture?
Subject right there.
Okay.
G-Shine.
The other individuals that are in this photo, were you able to identify them?
Yes.
And who are they?
This is Jamon Mitchell. He was in the email chain. sent through the YNW Melly booking Gmail account. This is Jaquan Burton, Q-Shine, or Herc, as saved on the phone. This is Derek Dixon, aka Gino, saved on the 9807 phone number.
And the hand signs and symbols that are being shown, what are they indicative of?
So this hand sign right here, that's a big B for blood. This right here is G-Shine, same hand sign that Melly or Mr. Demons is throwing up. Same hand sign he puts on his music albums and commonly uses. It's a specific hand sign just to.
So those gang signs are really important because, and then it's also important when you show the relationship to the parties and what they call each other. Because it without the gang involvement in this case, they don't have a death penalty case.
G-Shine to the Gangster Killer Bloods. Well, this is a universal hand sign for Bloods. This is universal hand sign for Bloods. This is specific to Gangster Killer Bloods.
Okay, so I'm going to go and scroll down further on that same page, same 39 received.
Thank you.
So I'm going to split that.
See, when people get popped, in a gang case, first thing they do is go through their social media and go through their phones, and guess what they find? A lot of self-snitching.
Pause it. The individuals that are identified in this particular live photo / video from the iPhone, do you recognize those individuals?
Yes, I'm like.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the person on the far left in the black shirt.
That's Courtroom.
And here's the other thing. When I say the gang strike force, they will have book on everybody. They follow people around. They follow their social media. People get popped, people snitch. So they keep a book on every single person that they possibly can. And they just sit on it for a while until something pops.
Okay, the next individual in the blue shirt with the green stripe and RS on the front of it.
Mr. Demons.
Now look how small Melly is. I mean, he's a little fella.
The photo with the long threads, the gray jacket, black pants.
I believe that's track.
Okay. Are there gang signs or symbols that are being shown in this particular image?
Well, the colors, some of them are wearing the color red, and then you have Mr. Demons throwing out GKB with one hand, and the other hand just east side. Those are two signs.
Okay. The Chicago Bulls hat in the background, is that something that's associated with a blood gang?
Yeah.
And they'll take things that are innocuous, like a Bulls hat, and it may or may not be. It could be just that. It could be just a Bulls hat. One of the things that the defense did is the defense showed a clip of Serena Williams doing the Crip walk. They said, is she in the Crips? And so a lot of people like to emulate gangs and gang culture that aren't necessarily in gangs.
Blood gang members typically wear red Chicago Bulls outfits. Mob Pyru, blood gang members typically wear that a little more because it's similar to one of their symbols.
The thing I don't like about the gang expert testimony is they get a lot of freaking latitude. They get a lot of latitude about things that may be innocent behavior, but all of a sudden they associate it with gangs.
The subject in the white shirt is throwing up. This would be Mob Pyru, because it makes an M.
Mob Pyru.
I apologize. And then the subject's obviously wearing all red. This is one of the subjects in the picture is wearing almost all red. Mr. Dennis is wearing plenty of red shoes.
And he's wearing blue too. And he's wearing some white.
Red highlights on the shirt with some green.
Okay. So I'm going to go forward and publish, and that was, for the record, image_0162.mov. So I'm going to go and publish image_0300.mov.
Yeah, you see that shit, you know what I'm saying? Some motherfuckers that shit, hit me. Chill, where I shot at some nigga Wiz. See the YW? See the you took a rip. Be edgy shit, man. You niggas, know the niggas, you feel me? Gonna have full in that snow.
That was in Minnesota. He was at a Timberwolves game. And we'll show you that here at the Timberwolves game and see him being on the Jumbotron throwing up gang signs.
Hey, we lit, man. I be killing that. I be killing that. No count.
Do you recognize that person?
Mr. Devins.
And last but not least, image 278.mov.
No regrets for the shit I did. That also means for the niggas out. Yeah. 4:30 a.m. Never say when.
Now, here's the thing. This is one of the reasons why gang experts testify, because who the fuck knows what he's saying? I mean, nobody knows. I mean, especially white suburbia, because that's who your jurors are typically going to be, right? But he can go on to say, oh, this is what he's saying, and he can really expand on it. And
Detective Pallone asks, are you a Kevin Gates fan?
Yeah, I'm a Kevin Gates fan.
He's a Kevin Gates fan? That's a little sus, don't you think?
Does the Kevin Gates song 4:30 a.m. include the lyrics never say when?
I believe so.
Does it say both of them? So, continuing on.
So she's trying to use this to say that he basically is self-snitching right there. You know, both of them.
On to go through some of the other photos that are now as part of this exhibit.
And it's not enough to show that he's got some gang affiliation. It's not enough to show that somehow he's in a gang. She has to link it up to say this was a crime for the benefit of a gang. And if for the state's theory to really work here, the crime has to be for the benefit of the gang, not for the individual. Now, if we remember what this dispute was about, it's about the YNW brand. It was about the sale of the brand, about a distribution of $200,000. And with those guys removed, guess what? That's for the benefit of Melly individually, not necessarily for the benefit of a gang.
Can you identify the individual as Mr. Demons in this photo?
Yes, subject wearing green with the name Melvin written on his tracksuit.
And is he showing
Not my
any,
jacket, sorry.
is he putting up any signs or signals that would be associated with a criminal gang?
Objection, Your Honor. That's not a gang sign at all. That's 2 in the pink and 1 in the stink.
Yeah, just the east side.
Okay.
It does sort of look like that, doesn't it?
Going into image 160.
And these are all, you see, it's an extraction report from Celebrate. That's what this is. This is all about what's coming off their phones.
.jpg. What are we looking at here?
That's a really commonly used blood hand sign, spelled out blood, B-L-O-O-D, using both hands.
And who did that? I mean, whose hands were those?
This image, who are we looking at in this image?
It's Mr. Demons using both hands to throw up the big B's for blood.
And is this the same jacket from the previous photo?
Yes. At least it appears to be. It was a lot more zoomed in.
Moving on to the next image here. What is shown in this photo?
It's Mr. Demons putting a big B up to his forehead.
I mean, this does get a little tedious, but the reason it's important for the state's case is because the stakes are so high, and they try to present this message over and over and over again. And repetition in a criminal trial is very common for the state to go over things over and over again.
In terms of the one we're looking at here, image underscore 0194.png. What is this?
That's the same photograph located on the phone, the document forwarded to him.
And in terms of going through the phone, did you see numerous screen captures like this?
Yeah, there's a lot, like more than what I can count at this point. I went through thousands of images. It's a lot of screenshots of FaceTimes with Mr. Demons on the small camera with the camera function to switch the camera, showing that he's the one holding that phone that is screenshotting the picture.
So keep in mind, the ownership of that phone is an issue in this trial. Without that, remember all the location data that they had. That's why this is important, because it shows that Melly is FaceTiming somebody, and that's a screenshot. And you can do that just by mistake. And so there's so much information. And you think you deleted something off your phone? You didn't delete it off your phone. Every time a picture shows up, there's a little tiny image that's embedded in your phone, and it's always going to be there, even if you reset your phone.
Image1.jpg. Are there common handshakes and gestures that are done between different members of Bloods to acknowledge one another?
Yes.
Going on to this image, is Mr. Demons doing any hand signs in this one?
It's kind of blurry. I can't really tell what he's doing in his hand.
Objection, Your Honor. And they give these gang experts way too much latitude, and at least in this one, he didn't try to guess what he was doing. It's been a long day of testimony. The gang strike force expert was testifying about a lot of gang signs, a lot of affiliation, a lot of text messages with Sack Chaser and all this, somebody calling him Ansari, which is a term for a leader in a gang, kind of like a general or thereabouts, or so that's what he says. And so it is interesting to show two things. One, it was a crime committed for the benefit of the gang, and number two, it was also to show ownership of the phone, because you saw many pictures there that are on his phone, either selfies or conversation that he was having. So stakes are super high in this case. It's a double homicide death penalty case. Now, I know I've said in the past that I really thought that Bortland's going to testify, and I know that Bortland's giving a lot of props out to Melly. The things you got to realize, they're in trial for a long time, and it's not always heavy moments. When the medical examiner is going to testify, there will be a lot of outbursts from the audience, I would bet. There's going to be crying in the jury, or at least, very serious. You'll be able to hear a pin drop. But check this out. This is just kind of interesting. So he's vibing there, and his lawyers are smiling. And here's the thing. Jury obviously is not present for that. And they're not playing his video in this trial. They made a decision about that. But you really got to be careful. You got to be careful, because everything you do, the jury is watching. And they overjudge. So you really have to be careful to make them think that you are taking the case seriously. Because any misperception by the jury is going to be held against the party that's causing it. So if he's laughing and he's not serious about this, they're going to think that he didn't really give a shit, and they're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. As opposed to if he's overly You know, I mean, it's really kind of an art to be able to figure out exactly what the jury's thinking. One of the things I love about my staff is I try a lot of cases with my paralegal. She's able to watch the jury and kind of connect with the jury and actually read their body language. And I can't do that because I got to focus on the witness and, you know, the evidence that we're dealing with. So she's able to watch the jury, and that is really an art in and of itself, because your message hopefully is getting through. So this has just been our reaction to a Melly update. We'll keep you posted on as we go through the week of trial. So I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, along with content genius Michael Rivers. We'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon. Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer, board-certified by the National Board of Trial Advocacy and by the Minnesota State Bar Association as a criminal law and criminal trial specialist. Today we're reacting to Brian Walsh. But before we get to Brian Walsh, let's talk about who we're sponsored by. We're sponsored by Sign.com. Let's say you're at home and you can't leave because you're Brian Walsh and you have a home monitoring device on you because you tried to sell some Andy Warhol paintings to somebody and you can't get out of the house. So the only way you can sign a contract, because you might have to post bail later, is by doing a document remotely. How can you sign that? Go to eSign.com. Download the app. You get 3 free signatures a month, and it is a great way to do business remotely. So let's talk about Brian Walsh. You know, I'm going to just tell every guy out there something you already know. There is no problem that you have with a woman that can be solved by violence. Never. It's not a good idea. Not to mention the fact that dismembering her is probably even a worse idea. This guy has got to be the dumbest fucking criminal I've ever seen in my life. Let's just talk a little. We're gonna play his bond hearing, which is another thing. But now, in this day and age, guess what? Everywhere you go, everything you do leaves a digital footprint. Okay? You do a search on the internet. There's a permanent record of it. You take your phone someplace. There's a permanent record of where you go. You make a phone call. There's a record of that. You walk outside. You go to Walmart. Guess what? There's video of you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go, there's some type of digital footprint. So he's on his kids. You can't make this up. This is like a made-for-TV movie. These are Google searches he did on his child's iPad. How long before a body starts to smell? Okay. How to stop a body from decomposing. How to embalm a body. And what's the best state to divorce for men? Dismemberment. And what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? Now, you really don't have a great explanation for doing these searches. But there was more other searches like hacksaw, a best tool to dismember. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, can you be charged with murder without a body? Now, in this case, they don't have a body. And that does make it a little more difficult. It makes the case more circumstantial. There's a difference between direct evidence and circumstantial evidence. We've talked about that a little bit on this channel. But direct evidence is where somebody sees something happen. You know, you see the wagon wheel, go through the snow. Circumstantial evidence is you see the tracks where the wagon wheel was. So you can know somebody went through the snow. And in this case, they don't have a body. They don't have an eyewitness. They don't have video of the killing. What do they have? They have a missing woman. They have, he bought cleaning supplies, about $450 worth. They got 10 trash bags containing blood-stained items, including a hacksaw. And somehow that matches the search. Towels, rags, cleaning agents, carpets. Her slippers were in there. Can you have a reasonable explanation about why you'd throw her slippers away? A Prada purse, her COVID-19 vaccine card. And investigators found DNA from Anna Walsh and Brian Walsh on the slippers, according to the prosecutor. Let's listen in on the bond hearing.
January 1st, defendant Googled using his son's iPad. Some of his searches are as follows. Keep in mind that the defendant said he left at 6 a.m. At 4:50.
So now he gave a statement to the cops, right? And he tells the cops, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Now he was on a bracelet, and he was on a bracelet for an offense where he tried to sell some fake Warhols to somebody in California. And he got busted for that, so he was on home monitoring, without GPS, mind you.
55 a.m. on January 1st, he searched how long before a body starts to smell. At 4:58 a.m., how to stop a body from decomposing. At 5:20 a.m., he searched how to embalm a body.
Not a particularly handsome fella, is he?
At 5:47 a.m., 10 ways to dispose of a dead body if you really need to. At 6:25 a.m. on the 1st, how long for someone to be missing to inherit?
10 ways to dispose of a body if you really need to. Well, you know what? It's kind of starting to smell, but I don't really need to right now. Unbelievable.
At 6:34 a.m. on the 1st, can you throw away body parts? At 9:29 a.m., what does formaldehyde do? At 9:34 a.m. on the 1st, how long does DNA last? At 9:59 a.m., can identification be made on partial remains? At 11:34 a.m., dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body.
So these are all searches that I guarantee you a child is not going to do. The little kids that they left behind, and now they're parentless. But every single one of these builds on itself, right? So when we talk about circumstantial evidence, you take brick by brick by brick by brick. That's what the prosecutor will do. Now they don't have him killing anybody. They don't have him admitting to doing anything. So they have to use all these inference. You draw an inference from the evidence. And if your Google search is best way to dispose of a body, one could think that you might have a body you might need disposing of.
At 11:44, how to clean blood from wooden floor. At 11:56 on the 1st, luminol to detect blood. At 1:08, what happens when you put body parts in ammonia? At 1:21 p.m., is it better to throw crime scene clothes away or wash them? Those were on the January 1st. There was also information gained from the defendant's phone, which showed on January 2nd he was at Home Goods in Norwell, where he purchased 3 rugs.
That's important because if you dispose of a rug because it has blood on it and you put a new rug down, if anything got leaked through, it would still get on that new rug.
At 1:10 p.m., can you be charged with murder without a body? At 1:14 p.m., can you identify a body with broken teeth?
So in this day and age, we have a lot of technology. You guys have all seen forensic files. You all have seen NCIS. And some of that stuff is real. And in a lot of cases, they don't have DNA. They don't have fingerprints. They don't have teeth. You can identify somebody by dental records because, if you look at my teeth, I was in an accident in 2003. My teeth are going to look way different than anybody else's. So no one will have the exact teeth that I have because of what happened to me. I was in a motorcycle accident and injured my teeth. And so my teeth have a very distinct pattern. Everybody is the same way. Nobody has the same type of cavity, the exact same. And so the x-rays they can use. So can you identify a body by broken teeth?
On January 2nd, following those, the defendant was seen on surveillance at the Home Depot in Rockland. In checking the surveillance, the defendant is observed on a security camera pushing a cart. Items included cleaning products, mops, brushes, tape, tarp, a Tyvek suit with boot covers, buckets, goggles, baking soda, a hatchet.
Baking soda, hatchet, and a Tyvek suit. Was it just for like a little weekend party? I mean, there's no reasonable explanation, and you put all this together, You put it all together, and it is just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. This guy is the dumbest criminal on the planet because he's giving everybody a roadmap to what he's thinking and what he's doing.
Face mask and rubber gloves on at the time he was pushing the cart in Home Depot. At 5:32, he was seen at the Derby Street in Hingham, now removing the gloves and the mask. Data from his phone also tracked his whereabouts on January 3rd.
Now, this is the prosecutor, by the way. What she's doing is she's reading the probable cause portion of the complaint or of the indictment or whatever. When they first started this hearing, the defense said, we are not contesting bail or detention, and we're not contesting probable cause. In other words, she didn't want this all to be read. And the judge says, well, I have to hear it because I have to be satisfied.
Locations were traveled at 4:27 on January 3rd to an apartment complex in Abington. Surveillance shows the defendant's Volvo, as well as a male fitting the defendant's appearance, exit a car near the dumpster. He walks to the dumpster carrying a garbage bag. He's leaning, and it appears to be heavy as he has to heft it into the dumpster. He walks to the dumpster with the garbage bag and leaves it. On 4:48, he hit another complex in Abington, and at 5:10 p.m., cell phone shows records at another apartment in Brockton.
He's going to various garbages, and he's dumping something, right? And I think the rumor, or not the rumor, but I think what the facts are that she eventually got incinerated.
Video shows a party consistent with his appearance and his Volvo. Again, he discarded items in the dumpster. On January 3rd, that same day, at 1:02 p.m., he did some more Google searches. What happens to hair on a dead body? At 1:13 p.m., what is the rate of decomposition of a body found in a plastic bag compared?
So what are searches? What are Google searches? They are a window into the thinking of whoever is doing them, right? So if you see that, on my site, I'm looking for a 1962 Lincoln Continental convertible, then I'm probably interested in one, which I am, by the way. But if I'm Googling how long does it take a body to decompose, what happens to hair when somebody dies, I mean, he's gone from, the best way to kill somebody to what happens afterwards. You can just tell what he's thinking. And knowing what somebody's thinking, there's a Latin phrase called mens rea. It's your intent, your criminal intent. And when somebody has mens rea, that means the criminal intent to do the thing. That is what this is going to be used for. Absolutely.
On a surface in the woods. At 1:20 p.m., can baking soda mask or make a body smell good?
Does baking soda make a body smell good? You hear about these cases, and how dumb can this guy be to think this would even work? I mean, there is no problem that you have with a woman that can be solved with violence. It is just sheer evil to take her out like that. They tracked her phone. He told her that she had a work emergency. She never showed up for it, and her work is what called it in. And they pinged her phone. Her phone never left the house. They found blood and a broken knife in the family's basement that had blood on it. They have surveillance video of Brian Walsh wearing a medical mask and surgical gloves and purchasing $450 of cleaning supplies with cash at Home Depot near his house. He was wearing a monitoring bracelet. Now, I was telling you this before. He was wearing a monitoring bracelet as he awaited sentencing for selling fake Andy Warhol paintings to some buyer in California. He was under house arrest, but he was allowed to leave the home for things like doctor's appointments, shopping for a murder kit, and the bracelet did not have GPS. Now, the court held him without bail. Defense didn't contest it because it was just, he's going to be held without bail. Circumstantial cases are different. The law doesn't prefer direct or circumstantial evidence, right? A jury may want more direct evidence, but if they don't have it, they're going to have to put pieces of a puzzle together. And it'll be up to the defense, with these searches, how do you explain these searches? There's no good explanation for them unless you're writing a novel. You know, unless you're writing a novel and you want to be accurate in a novel. This guy does not look like a novelist to me at all. So we'll follow this case. I was just heavy in the news today, and I just thought it was just a good example of a real dumb criminal. So this is Bruce Rivers. Thanks for watching. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, sign up for Patreon, follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer.